The incumbent Sheriff Watson going last, and they'll each have a 5-minute opening, and then we're going to take questions. And again, there are cards back there if you want to write down a question and give it to me. We'll go through these, and then if we have time, we'll take questions from the audience. And our timekeeper is Ted Lamb over here at the third table back. He has the little paddle that says time. When that sign goes up, that's it, guys. And he does have one side that says 1 minute. So during your 5-minute thing, we'll try and keep our answers to a minute or so if you can. That way we can stay on track and keep moving. Alrighty, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And Mr. Cherry?
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is David Cherry. I'm running for the office of Portsmouth Sheriff. I was born in the city of Portsmouth in 1962. I graduated from Churchland High School, class of 1980, Go Truckers. I furthered my education by attending Tidewater Community College, where I majored in business and political science. My work experiences, I worked with the family business for over 30 years, so I have a good first-hand knowledge of how to run a business. I assumed all operational control of the business at the age of 36 years old due to my father coming down with brain cancer. My father later died 2 years later from brain cancer. I then decided in 2010, August of 2010, to close the business so I could pursue my lifelong dream of being a full-time police officer. I have over 10 years of law enforcement experience. In 2003, I joined the Portsmouth Sheriff's Auxiliary Unit under Gary Waters. During my time as Deputy Sheriff, Auxiliary Deputy Sheriff, I worked in the jail. I worked in booking and receiving. Also worked in the warrant unit and the warrant office. I then moved on to the Portsmouth Police Department in 2007. I joined the Auxiliary Unit and I graduated as a law enforcement officer. During my time police officer, I served over 2 years in the Community Services Unit. I then decided 2.5 years ago to become a full-time police officer. During that time, I served as a detective, working various crimes cases. I'm now assigned to uniform patrol. My vision as sheriff is I would like to increase and improve upon the GED program for our inmates. I also would like to create a comprehensive vocational training for all work release inmates and work crew inmates. I would like to strengthen the bond between the police department and the sheriff's department by taking over the booking process, which will free up the police officers to return to the streets a lot quicker than they do right now. I also would like to improve upon and create a communication line between the Marshal Service and the Portsmouth Sheriff's Office so that we hopefully someday house federal inmates, which will bring in revenue to the city of Portsmouth. Also would like to start a school safety program. I want to get involved with protecting our schools. Creating a unit of deputies that are going to patrol throughout the day, since we have deputies on the street throughout the day that can patrol in and around our schools to make our schools safer. Also going to have all of our line deputies, which would be lieutenants and above, they're going to attend each and every civic league and community meeting throughout the city so that we can help with the police department to tackle the crimes that are concerning the citizens of Portsmouth. Most importantly, I want to treat all deputies, I'm sure there's deputies in here somewhere, treat all deputies with fairness. I want to make sure that all deputies have a chance to increase upon their education. Also want to increase and enhance the training that the deputies are getting in the city of Portsmouth. And most importantly to me, I want to make sure that each and every deputy is treated fairly in the promotional process. That it's not based upon who you know, who you're friends with. Make it fair and equitable. And I want to close in saying that I really appreciate everybody coming out today for you giving me the opportunity to get up here and speak to you. And please vote for me on November 5th. Thank you.
Mr. Ronnie Davis?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you, Taxpayer Alliance, for allowing us to be here today. My name is Ronnie Davis, and I'm running for sheriff because, number one, I love this city and I care about the people in this city. I want to bring back truth, honesty, integrity, and cooperation for all the citizens of Portsmouth. And I'm tired of seeing all this negative publicity involving the sheriff. He is an embarrassment to the city, and he continues to be an embarrassment to the city. Last Monday, the sheriff, because he couldn't find nothing else dirty on me, accused me of fraud for taking money from the pension system that I earned. He has been fired from every job he worked at. He was fired from the Norfolk Police Department. He was fired from the Isle of Wight Sheriff's Office. He was fired from the Portsmouth Sheriff's Office. I worked 36 years in this city for the police department, and I retired honorably, and that's something he will never be able to say. I was asked about relocating the jail. I need a jail to continue the services provided by the inmate labor force. My idea is to relocate the jail on the cheapest piece of property we can find in the city of Portsmouth. 56% of the property in this city is non-taxable, including where that jail is sitting right now. We need to sell it and put it back on the tax rolls. Since Watson has been sheriff, he's cost the city and the Commonwealth thousands of dollars in settlements from lawsuits and legal fees. According to city credit card reports, he spent thousands of dollars on food bills for employees. The Portsmouth Circuit Court awarded $25,000 to a former health service nurse because he defamed her. He continues to defame the ladies that sued him in federal court by suggesting that just because a woman works as a stripper part-time, it was okay to put her through the degrading strip search that he did. This is like saying a prostitute can't be raped. In the same federal case, a judge ruled that he violated the rights of these ladies and ordered them to reinstate their security clearances and to update the jail records to reflect their reinstatement. Several days ago, Billy admitted to Wavy TV that he had broken the law and he would plead guilty to a misdemeanor. He said he didn't know that he broke the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, and that's taught in Law 101. And again, he made a mockery of the state code of Virginia when he was confronted by Wavy TV. He balled up the code of Virginia and threw it on the floor. And he was just showing his utter contempt for the laws of this city. Had he been a police officer and committed the violations that he admitted to, he would have been terminated. In most cases, he'd have been covered under the Brady law and never allowed to testify in a court again. It's a stigma that you cannot recover from. His slogan, "One law for everyone," couldn't be any further from the truth. On June 11th of 2005, in an article in the paper, when Billy was running against Sheriff Waters, he called for the ouster of Sheriff Waters for the DUI. And he said, and I quote, "You have to lead by example," and further said, quote, "You can't be a role model when you're breaking the law." He needs to take his own advice. You continue to make a mockery of the law, and now you face an investigation on your breaking the law again for your use of inmates. As a citizen of Portsmouth, I'm calling on you to do what's best for the people of Portsmouth and resign as the sheriff of Portsmouth. You are the sheriff of Portsmouth, not the sheriff of Notre Dame. Thank you.
Mr. Ronald Wood? Please speak up, guys. I'm sorry, we don't have a mic in here.
All right, you don't have to worry about me speaking up.
Oh, yeah, you can hear him.
Thank you for taking time out of Saturday morning to come up here and listen to us. It's very important to me and all the other three out here as well. My name's Ronald Wood. I'm a citizen of Portsmouth. I was born in Portsmouth in 1961. My mother and father, they were Portsmouth residents. My father was a firefighter at Portsmouth. My mother was a nurse. I've been married for 28 years to Cindy. I've got two wonderful children. They attended college. One of them is a captain in the Merchant Marines at 26 years old. Myself, I attended Craddock High School, graduated in 1980. I went to Chowan College, attended school at Chowan, came back into the state of Virginia, went to Tidewater Community College. And after I finished Tidewater Community College, I obtained a job in the Portsmouth Sheriff's Department. As a Portsmouth Sheriff's Department deputy, I attended the Correctional Officers Academy. I graduated with a lot of the personnel that are running the regional jail and local businesses around here. It's a pretty good education. It gives you a knowledge that it's a place you don't want to be behind bars. So I took that home with me, and I've tried to role model my life to the point where everything that I do keeps me out from behind them bars and tries to be positive. I'd like to be able to present that positive attitude back into the deputies that I'd bring into the department. The deputies that I would bring into the department would be brought in under equal and fair opportunity. It wouldn't be my best friend's brother, or wouldn't be my first cousin, or wouldn't be my sister, and wouldn't be my wife or my daughter. It's going to be people that apply, that are applicable for the jobs and the positions that are there for the people to step into and serve our community and to take care of our inmates. As far as the additional training I've had, I went to Newport News and I applied for Tenneco. And I was a special corrections officer, not a corrections officer, a plant protection officer. I was in the tenure of Newport News for approximately a year, and then a Department of Defense civilian SWAT team asked me would I applicate myself for that journey. I inquired what it was. It was repelling against terrorist activities. It was pre-9/11. It was something we thought would never happen, but it unfolded. They taught us to repel terrorist activities. I was nuclear qualified, radiological trained, possessed weaponry certificates, and continued on and got my government secret clearance. I had a tenure with them for a while. I left there. I went into business for myself, and I've been working as an entrepreneur in the high 20s of the years, 25, 26, 27. We moved back to Portsmouth. We've been residents of Portsmouth numerous times. And when we returned back to Portsmouth, we decided that we were going to stay here, we were going to make it our home. And I started noticing a few things that was going on with the Sheriff's Department and what was happening. I started looking into it a little bit deeper, and I said, this is something I'd like to get my hands in. I've done a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I've stuck with everything I've done. I left it honorably, and now I'm pursuing this race to try to be your next sheriff. As your next sheriff, I tend to work with the work release program through the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office and Mr. Earl Mobley to firm it up to the point where it is something that he's satisfied with, therefore I'm satisfied with, and I'll have the proper deputies out there to ensure the safety of the homeowners where the work crews are working around. Like I said before, I intend to keep some of the programs that are going on with the grass cutting and the assistance to the elderlies, and I don't intend to do a lot of cutting as far as that goes. It's just going to be monitored a little bit differently along the guidelines that is approved by the Commonwealth's Attorney to ensure everybody's safety. I'm going to work with the inmates that are in the jail to rehabilitate them. The money that is received as profits from the phone and the canteen shall be used to rehabilitate inmates and shall not be used as my private car to go out and treat the people that I choose to treat off the inmates' profits. I, in turn, am going to build a inmate cell that when they go down for release, instead of wearing the same nasty clothes they had on their back, they'd be given proper outfitting when they leave the jail, an insignia inside their sleeve or their collar that says, this is your first step, take it wisely. So therefore, when they re-enter society, they will not come back in and out and be career criminals. They'll be our neighbors and our sons and our daughters. But that's all I've got to say. My time's out. I wish I had more time. And thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you November 5th. And please vote for Ronald Wood.
Bill Watson.
Good morning, how you doing? Thanks for coming out this morning on such a nasty morning. And if you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, I'm going to have to leave to go to a parade later. We got the Milcom homecoming. A few things I'd like to address. Everybody can always build a better mousetrap, so they think, until they try to build it. There's some things were said here this morning. Things were said here this morning, okay? And it seemed like, aren't you getting tired of all the commercials on TV with all the mudslinging between all the gubernatorial candidates and the Attorney General race and the Senate race? They're not saying what they're gonna do, all they're saying is what their opponent has done.
Yes.
Okay? I'm getting sick of the commercials, I don't know about you. But I will protect myself, although I don't wanna throw mud. Now, start with it. I never admitted to breaking the law. When I talked to Andy Fox, he said, if you were charged with inmates being on your property, would you plead guilty? I said, yes. To them being on my property, not to breaking the law. The last 3 words of that code, the most important words was, for personal gain. I gained nothing by that. It cost me $800 to have them out there because I wanted them to finish their school that I was putting them through. But they edited that part. They always edit the best parts that tells the truth. The sad part about this, out of my 3 opponents, Mr. Wood is the only one that really qualifies. He's the only one that has any experience with the sheriff's office. Now, Ronnie Davis says, 36 years, police department, detective. Detective is not a rank. Detective is an assignment. Just like being a motor officer, a canine officer, or whatever. What gets me, 36 years with the police department, he never made sergeant. What is wrong with that picture? You gonna be there 36 years and you can't make rank? Mr. Cherry, would you hire a rookie cop to be police chief? The man has no experience with the sheriff's office. He rode with another deputy. He never had any command decision, neither did Mr. Davis. Neither one of them had any command decisions. But yet, they want to be sheriff. You want to give them a $13 million budget to handle? Is that what you want? That's your tax money. Just like when he retired on disability, that was your tax money. Yes, he earned it. He earned his disability. He had heart-lung, okay? And I'll commend you for the job you did, Mr. Davis, but the fact remains is you retired on disability, on the tax dollars, and now because you've had a miracle recovery, you can be sheriff. They just had a thing in 60 Minutes last week. People retiring on disability, turning around going to work for somebody else doing the same job, and now they're charged with fraud and they're prosecuted. And all this hype they're trying to build up about me and the inmates, if Mr. Mobley had anything on me that he could convict me of, I would have already been in court. It was thrown out there as a bad seed 2 years ago to make this happen now, right before the election. I told the state police at the time, when they said, you got canceled checks, you're in no violation here. They didn't charge me because I was not guilty of anything. I said, but you'll see this again in 2 years. They said, oh, no, that won't. I said, bet me, you'll see it in 2 years. Mr. Mobley and Mr. Davis, good friends. Gee, sounds a little dirtier now, doesn't it? But the fact remains is, you've got to be able to keep your cool. You've got to be able to make command decisions. Now, Mr. Davis proved last debate we had, he jumped all over a woman for asking a question, accused her of being a deputy. She was a civilian asking a decent question. He lost his cool. What is he going to do when he's really under fire? What is he going to do when he's really got the stress of 185 employees and 5 budgets to deal with instead of 1? Is he going to be able to handle it? At 74 years of age, I don't want anything to happen to the man.
70.
70, whatever. I don't want you to have a stroke. I really don't. You know, if you retired because of stress, this is the last job you want. Stress. But like I say, the most important thing you got to remember, you might have the best insurance in the world, okay? But you have to have a major operation. Who do you want to operate on you? An intern or a specialist? That's my answer. Come out November 6th and vote for me. I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dolores is going to come around and collect any questions that might be available. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and get started with some. First question. If you are elected Sheriff of Portsmouth, do you intend to continue the following programs now in force, and if not, why not? There are 3. Number 1, calls to the elderly on a daily basis. Number 2, motorcycle escorts for funerals. And number 3, training inmates to operate heavy-duty equipment and/or learn building skills through the Tidewater Builders Association. And I guess to be fair, we'll just start at this end of the table for this question and the other end for the next. Mr. Davis?
Yes to every One, except training inmates to operate heavy equipment.
Mr. Cherry?
I would say, we would probably have to review the relationship with the Tidewater Village Association based on the recent events in the newspaper, for misuse of inmates. Let's see if that's actually correct or not. And I don't think they should be trained in heavy equipment operation due to the legalities of it, as far as in the other ones.
Mr. Wood?
Myself, I used to own a grading and clearing company, and it's very, very expensive. I've had backhoes, bulldozers, excavators. A couple people in this audience used to work for me. Very, very expensive. I don't know where the funds come from to generate that, so that would definitely be a no-no. I would not have that. As far as the grass, the elderly and stuff like that that are going on now, they would continue. They are very, very appropriate for a sheriff to reach out, like the sheriff has done, to the people that need it, but only the people that need it. So I would affirm and stay with the same programs on the same level that he's doing now, with a little bit different guidance. But I would not work with the Builders Association, and I would not have the heavy equipment. I would focus on immediate attention for Portsmouth.
Sheriff?
It's funny this question came up, why I brought this with me, I don't know, just in case. These are licenses. This proof is in the pudding, here's your pudding. These are all licenses where I'm a certified operator and instructor in heavy equipment. And the reason why we do this is so they can get a job when they get out, okay? I've already had the city hire quite a few of my inmates because of the training they received at the work center. As far as the motorcycles and the funeral escorts, we're the only jurisdiction that doesn't charge for a funeral escort. We're the only jurisdiction that'll take a veteran all the way to Albert G. Horton. They talk about, we support our veterans. Well, you better support them all to the gravesite. That's the way I feel about it. Those people gave their lives for their country, and you can't take them to Suffolk. Well, we're going to do it. We're going to continue to do it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory whether I'm going to keep the motorcycles or not. I'm on one right now. It's a rainy day. I think the only person in here that might be on a motorcycle would be Mr. Wood. He's the only one who has any motorcycle experience to speak of. I'll tell you right now, our programs work. We've proven they work, and we're taking the booking back in June. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is, as sheriff, I guess this is for everyone, and we'll start with Mr. Watson.
Yes, ma'am.
As sheriff, what plans will you have to ensure the safety of your deputies?
Having the right sheriff is the main thing. I can tell you right now, it's a well-known fact that yes, I protect my employees. I'll go to bat for them in a second. Would you want to work for a boss that will sell you down the river? I wouldn't want to. My employees to me are family, and I take care of every one of them personally. You have a problem, I have an open door policy. You don't need to go through chain of command to see me. You can come see me anytime. Every one of my deputies has my cell phone number, and I've had them call me at home. That's a well-known thing in the sheriff's office. You can ask any employee that works for me, and they'll tell you they love working in the sheriff's office. Their job is more secure than if they worked anywhere else. It's awful funny that all the police officers, when they retire, want to come to the sheriff's office. We just hired 3 because they retired from the PD. They said they've had it with the PD. They have no backing over there. They don't know one day to the next where they're going to get it stuck to them. So they come to work for the sheriff's office because they feel more secure with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. If you become sheriff, what would you do with the current jail? Mr. Davis?
Just like I just stated in my statement, I would try to locate property somewhere in the city of Portsmouth, the cheapest piece of property, as I stated before, relocate the jail, shut the present jail down, and put it back on the taxpayer rolls.
I would like to keep the jail, like to build a new jail, if it's economically feasible for the citizens of Portsmouth. I don't think we should have to pay $60,000 for another study. I think within in-house, we can gather all the information we need, get together with the citizens, the citizen board, get together with the city council and the members of the high-ranking members of the sheriff's department. Then we can figure out what's going to be the best thing for the city as a whole.
As far as the jail goes, when I worked down there years ago, it did its job. It does its job now. It's not a question that the jail is not operational, because I'm sure it is. As a matter of fact, it's better now than it was when I was down there, because at least they have air conditioning. Now, my plan for it is to listen to the people that have some intelligence different than mine, educationally, that can help the city financially. If that property is worth more to us as taxpayers, and we can gain by letting that jail go to another location on a void piece of property downtown Portsmouth, around the Civic Center, that they can't even give that property away, and we can construct there, keep our jail as a lockup, and have a minimum starting with a 100-bed unit. Expand as we need it. Do not give up 100% control of our inmates to the regional jail, because when we give it up and we shut our jail down, we're done. But the major thing about that is not so much as the taxpayers' dollars, it's his deputies. You got 150-some deputies out there. If you shut that jail, where do they go? I do not want to see one man lose their job.
Thank you.
I have to commend Mr. Wood. He does have an idea of what's going on down there. The thing is, the jail has to stay where it's at. Reason why? Because it could be 22 cents on the dollar on your real estate tax if we move that jail. Nobody wants a jail in their backyard. We need to keep that jail until we can save enough money to build a jail onto the new courthouse and save $250,000 a year in transportation costs. Because you have to take them back and forth from jail to court, jail to court, jail to court, back and forth. That's where you save your money. Our jail right now gets 100% every year. Hampton Roads Regional Jail just lost 400 inmates because of a violation that they refused to improve on. Now they want my 400 inmates. It's not going to happen. Why should you pay to help keep Hampton Roads Regional Jail open when they don't do anything for the taxpayers?
No.
Our jail provides work crews to do jobs for the city, to do jobs for the tax-paying citizens. Thank you.
All right, keeping on with the jail issue, this question is for Mr. Davis and Bill Watson. Cost of new jail, where is money coming from? Mr. Davis?
Where's the money coming from for
For the new jail?
This is the Taxpayer Alliance. Every time I come to these meetings every month, that's a question we ask. Where does the city going to get the money from? I want a new jail somewhere else. If we don't have the money to build it, then it's got to stay where it's at. It don't make any sense to shut it down and turn everybody over to the regional jail. It has to stay where it's at until this city can find out where they're going to get the money from, or how they're going to get the money without raising taxes any more than they already have.
Sheriff?
It's a common sense approach. The city doesn't have the money. Keep the jail where it's at. We need to put $5 million a year into our coffers, okay? We can build a new jail, a 400-bed unit for $55 million connected to the courthouse, which will save an additional $250 every year. So I say let's keep the jail where we got it right now for the next 10 years. We can pay cash for a brand new jail. It won't cost you $1 on your real estate tax. But if you move that jail, it's going to be 22 cents per 100 on your real estate tax, because it'll cost $14 million a year to hold our inmates at Hampton Roads Regional Jail. And once you turn our jail loose, we never get it back.
Right.
It's in the state code. We cannot afford to get rid of our jail. It's a common sense approach. It's not rocket science. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question also continues on the jail theme, so we'll start with Sheriff Watson. It is a mathematical fact that it will take a $300 million taxable investment to get a 20-year payoff of a new $75 million jail. What is the real motive for relocating the jail without a firm contract?
We'll start with, it's not a $75 million. I did the paperwork with myself. We could do the modular jail, where it's prefab. They could put it together in 18 months. $55 million turnkey, ready to go, not $75 million. But the fact remains is, I can tell you what the movement behind the jail is. We got some city officials that want to make some money off of y'all.
Yeah.
That's what the truth is, and I'm not for sale. That's the problem. They want me out of there so they can go on with their business. And the problem is, I think with one of my opponents at least, if he wins the election, the mayor will control the sheriff's office.
That's right.
Is that what you want?
Nope.
Look at the signs out there. The mayor is backing Mr. Cherry. What does that tell you? I'm not for sale at any price. I've proven that. I've raised some eyebrows. You better believe I've caused some problems in this city, because I'm not gonna let you down. You elected me your sheriff. I am not for sale at any price. Thank you.
It's good.
Can I ask you to re-ask that question?
I just got lost.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It is a mathematical fact that it will take a $300 million taxable investment to get a 20-year payoff of a new $75 million jail. What is the real motive for relocating the jail without a firm contract?
I'll be honest with you, all them numbers has got me baffled. I have no clue as far as the money that they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it with, but I know that the money's coming from somewhere. I'm not afforded the ability to see where it comes from, how it rolls in, how it don't. I've tried numerous times to get it. I'm not able to get it. All I can tell you is that I'm not for sale either. I'm an independent. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. There's nothing wrong with parties, but you gotta look at the person. And any one of us that happens to be up here, we're gonna have to look at what they bring before us to give our approval, to give us the ability to say, hey, we support this program. If it's gonna benefit the city, I in turn am gonna ask my deputies to support me. If it's not gonna benefit but one person, like the innuendos are saying, and I'm not gonna call any names, I don't want anybody to gain millions of dollars and us pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. So if I do see that it's brought to my table, I will push it away and say, no, thank you, I'm not hungry. Thank you.
Good answer.
I would say that we should never commit to anything if we don't have all the facts. You never enter into any kind of contract unless you have a signed contract and a signed agreement. You gotta have all the figures, you gotta approach it with a business mind. I know that you can probably get some money. Somebody told me you could get some money from the State Compensation Board to help pay for the jail. Don't know that for a fact, that's just what I've been told. But I would have to get all the facts gathered together before we can make a decision.
I don't know what the motive is. I have no idea why that question was asked, and I don't know that much about that there is something going on that's underhanded as far as this jail is concerned. I hope and pray it's not, but I know with organizations like this and with other people sitting in this room, they're not going to let it happen. They're going to bring it out. They're going to stop it at city council meetings. It will be brought out at a city council meeting. You got Mark, and I know when you get Mark on you, you've got the world on you.
Thank you. The next question is for each of you, and we'll start with Mr. Davis. If an executive order was issued to confiscate all legally owned guns from the citizens, how would you respond to it?
How could it do it if it did?
I'd obey it.
Oh, Lord.
It's a law, but I don't agree with it.
Oh.
And I don't think anybody should have their weapons taken away from them. But if it's an executive order, you have to follow the order. I don't like what's going on when it comes to these guns. I believe everybody around here has a right to maintain their weapons. I've got my weapons, and they're not going to get them from me unless the United States government comes in and arrests me and takes the gun away from me. But if I am ordered as a law enforcement officer through the courts to obey this law, you have to obey it, whether you like it or not. And I don't like it.
That's a
Mr.
amendment.
Chair?
Yes, as far as the executive order is concerned, if the president issues an executive order, it actually goes to Congress. It has to be approved by Congress before it goes to each individual state. Then it's reviewed by each individual governor of the state and his attorney general of that state. And then it will go down to local law enforcement before it's ordered. So if it comes down through those lines, I would definitely follow that order. But I don't believe that would ever happen as far as going house to house and taking weapons
Second
away from
Amendment.
people.
It says shall not be.
Our forefathers, they voted in the Constitution, and we have the right to bear arms.
For this-
I myself bear arms. I have weapons at my home. If it was an executive order that was given down, it wouldn't be up for me to enforce it. It would be actually up for the police department and the Congress and everybody to go through. the deputies and myself, we would still wear and bear arms. I would not agree with the surrendering of our defense mechanisms for home protection. They were put there back when it was rowdy times. I mean, and we're not in comfortable times either, so a firearm in a home, in my opinion, is good. But if the order was given out, it wouldn't be the office of the sheriff that goes around confiscating these firearms. We might set up a distribution center to have them turn them in, but at that point, if you look at the sheriff's duties, they're not charged with going out and policing and telling somebody to give them the gun. If the order mandated the sheriff to do it, I would follow it. But as of now, the sheriff has nothing to do with going out and collecting the guns, even if it was ordered tomorrow. Thank you.
Can I say this comment obtained?
First, let me say one word. No, I will not. And I'm going to tell you why. Even the President of the United States cannot violate a little piece of paper this big, by this big, called the Constitution of the United States. You have the right to keep and bear arms. The question was, if you were given an executive order to confiscate firearms from law-abiding citizens, would you do it? No, I will not, because it is therefore not a legal executive order. Why do you think a sheriff is called a constitutional officer? We're here to protect your rights under the Constitution. I think y'all need to read the Constitution.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, this is a question for the sheriff, and it may have already been touched on, I'm not sure, but I'm going through it. How can you expect us to believe that you did not know after 8 years that it was against the law to have inmates work on your house?
By the codes. I got one code. They understand there's thousands of state codes, okay? You even have to have the Supreme Court that has to go over and check these codes, because they're also taken out of context. One person will read a code one way, one person will read a code another way. That's why you have a state Supreme Court. You've got judges and lawyers fighting all the time over these codes. I read a code that says if you work an inmate, they must be by check, paid by check, certified check, or money order. You can't pay them by cash, okay? Now another code, which is like 300 codes away from that, says inmates cannot be on the sheriff's property or deputy's property to do any work, blah, blah, blah. Last 3 words, for personal gain. That's why I was never charged. That's why I was never prosecuted, because of the last 3 words. These inmates went to school. They had to graduate. They needed one more class to graduate. We had paid for this with a grant. So I paid $800 out of my pocket so they could graduate. And they did work on that garage. Yes, they did. But I never broke a law. Thank you.
Okay, this question is for Mr. Wood. It has come to our attention that you are only running because Mr. Watson would not rip up a ticket. Is this true? Please explain.
I can honestly tell you that, yes, myself and Mr. Watson a few years ago had a run-in, and it wasn't with him or myself. The situation was, in my opinion, a rogue officer. The rogue officer is Mr. Chris Wells. He is Mr. Watson's one-man traffic division that they have proclaimed has wrote more tickets than the entire police department. First, second, third shift, Monday through Sunday. One man to do all that, something's got to be wrong. Well, I did talk to Mr. Watson about it, and then after the discussion with Mr. Watson, Mr. Wells came back at me. Well, I didn't ask him to tear the tickets up. He says I did. Anybody in their right mind, if you don't know that man as powerful as he is, are you going to knock on his door and say, hey, I don't know you from Adam, do me a favor, we tear my tickets up? It's crazy. Never done it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this question is for Sheriff Watson. When you win this election, what will you do to continue protecting the citizens of Portsmouth?
Well, I don't have enough time to tell her that. It'll take 10 minutes to tell you everything. But the fact remains is, the people rely on the sheriff's office, okay? And I'm not knocking the police department. The problem we got with the police department, they are just stretched way too thin. We're short on police officers, okay? They've got the traffic units right now working burglaries. How sad is that? I mean, why do you have a traffic unit if you got them out there working burglaries? And that's why I've agreed with the city manager to take the booking back. They act like this is a new thing. We've already agreed to take the booking back, but the problem we have, we can't take it right now. It's a thing called a budget. And the money has already been spent. The police department spent their portion of the money. There's no money to pay us due to booking. We've got to wait for next fiscal year, which is this July, and we've already agreed we will be taking the booking back to put more police officers on the street who will make you safer in your homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess this is for all candidates. What have all candidates done for the city of Portsmouth? How can a policeman, and this has already been brought up, but how can a policeman retire on disability and run for sheriff? You want to start, Mr. Davis?
I didn't retire because I wanted to. You have to understand that when you have a service-connected disability, and in my case it was a heart problem, I did not have a heart attack. They found out that I had a heart problem. I fought the city all the way to Richmond to try to keep my job. The medical people said that because I was subject to have a heart attack, that I could no longer perform the duties of a law enforcement officer, a police officer on the streets of the city. They put me out on a workman's comp issue. I worked on the workman's comp for 500 weeks, it's almost 10 years. I didn't do the job of a police officer because the law said I can't do that, but I worked. And after that 10 years was up, and only after that 10 years was up, did I come under the police fire pension system. That's the way the system worked. I didn't take advantage of it. I just abided by the law.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I understand the question. I worked almost 7,000 hours as a volunteer on the Portsmouth Sheriff's Office Auxiliary and the Portsmouth Police Department Auxiliary. That's over 3 years of full-time police officer. That's time I donated as a citizen because I love my community. As far as retiring on disability, I worked in the Detective Bureau for 4 months, temporary assignment, so I could see what it was like over there. And I was happy to go back on the street, I'll tell you that. Mr. Davis worked many years as a detective, very stressful job. That's what he had to do in order to make sure that he was able to live out his life in a healthy manner. And I'm all for it.
My father was a firefighter. He was a smoke eater back in the day before they had the proper apparatus to go in and save lives. Very stressful. I watched my father come home exhausted. 30 years of that would take its toll on anybody. I believe that if the system was set up that allowed a sheriff, a police officer, or anyone, I've got a friend of mine that's a retired Suffolk for 25 years. I've heard him tell me how stressful the job is. It will take its toll. Have you ever heard anybody say, slow down boy, you're going to blow a gasket, you're going to have a heart attack? Well, maybe Mr. Davis was stressed out to that point, and he didn't invent that system. That system was there for him to use for his health. Now, I don't have much knowledge on that system, but if it was set up, I'm sure Mr. Davis is honorable enough that he followed the rules. And if the rules are there for him, they're there for all of us too. So any of my deputies, when they need that stress, I'm going to look at the way he did it to relieve him. Thank you.
The one thing that Mr. Wood and I have in common, both of our fathers were firefighters. My father served 31 years on the fire department and died a year and a half after he retired. It's stress, there's no doubt about it. And the thing about Ronnie, I don't want him to die. He might be my opponent, but I don't hate the man. I don't want him to die from anything. He thinks this is a no-stress job. He better check again. This is one of the highest stress jobs you'll ever want to have, is being sheriff. You can satisfy 7 people and you make 3 people mad. You cannot satisfy everybody no matter what you do. If I sit right now and slit my wrist, a couple people say, hey, we appreciate that. Those don't want you to do that. You know? It's just the way it works. It's politics.
Right.
The main thing is, I never said that he wanted to retire on disability. I said he did retire on disability, which he did. But the thing is, the stress never goes away. That's why I don't want him to have a heart attack. And I don't think that he can handle the stress of this job. Thank you.
Okay, next question for all candidates. When a prominent law enforcement official takes a copy of the law of our Commonwealth, balls it up, and tosses it on the floor, what message does that provide the public about respect for the rule of law?
Start with me.
Sheriff?
The reason why I bought a piece of paper was Andy Fox. That ought to tell you something right there. He was bringing out a code that didn't apply to what we were talking about. He kept saying, Andy, it doesn't apply. This was before the camera was on. As soon as the camera cuts on, he hands it to me again. I bought it through the trash can. I said, Andy, I told you it didn't apply. Paige Cherry wanted to borrow some tables and chairs. No law against that, because the inmates didn't touch them. They were going to come pick the tables and chairs up. I said, where's this law say that Paige Cherry can't borrow tables and chairs? We were talking about inmates setting up a tent. The tent we set up for was private citizen. It wasn't for Paige Cherry. I understand later that day, they got over, they had a party, the mayor took a picture, the mayor made the complaint, the mayor went to the Commonwealth attorney because the mayor wasn't invited. That was the whole thing. That's why that all came out. But the fact remains is I balled it up because it didn't apply to what we were talking about. Thank you.
Talking about stress. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't want to have been the one bought a piece of paper up, but I won't sit at the table. I don't know what was on the piece of paper. I don't know if it applied, if it didn't apply. I don't know if Andy Fox was on point or if he wasn't on point. But it's not really about questioning what he did. It's what I would do. I don't believe if I was sitting there being asked questions about a situation, if I would react like that with so many people that I'd have to explain it to. I believe I would have had to took heat one-on-one, answered it to the best of my ability, and then pointed out it doesn't even apply. So go back and come back when you got something that is applicable, and then we'll talk about it. But I wouldn't have done that. I don't believe. Thank you.
I don't think I would have handled the situation quite like that. I know how Andy Fox can get under people's skin. I wouldn't have balled up a state code. I would simply just laid it on the table. I would have kept my cool, my composure, because that's what I would want each of my deputies to do. You have to lead by example, so I wouldn't have done that.
I don't talk to them before, they never had a job.
I can't agree anymore with everything that's been said here, except when you're a sheriff of the city of Portsmouth and you do something like that, and I'll agree with him, I don't know how it was edited. I have no idea how it was edited. But it's appearance. And when you take a code, regardless of whether it was a code that he's talking about or what they were discussing, and ball it up and throw it on the ground and say, that's what I think about it, it's not the thing to do. It's just, it shows utter contempt for the Commonwealth, or for the laws of the Commonwealth.
No. Yeah.
Stress. All righty, next question. Does the sheriff's department have the legal authority to apprehend illegal immigrants in the city?
That's a great question, one I've never been asked. I know police departments do, but I know that the sheriff's office in Portsmouth is more correctional. He manages the jail and execute court papers and protection of the courts. I can imagine that an order can be issued that would allow them to do that, but I don't think that exists for sheriff's department. Not city sheriff's department. Rural area law enforcement agency maybe, but I don't think that covers city sheriffs.
I have to respond the same way. Normally, if the police department is going to take an illegal immigrant into custody, it's going to be because he broke a local ordinance or a law. And as far as a sheriff's department going out and actively pursuing illegal immigrants, that's something that's not under their scope of duties.
When I was in the Sheriff's Department Academy, by the Department of Corrections, we never were trained to apprehend or detain illegals. Therefore, I don't believe it is a job that we are charged with doing. We're charged with taking custodial status of the jail, the inmates, and transportating to and from. We do have arrest authority to govern transportation from this city to another location with the person that's in our custody. Now, if a boat pulled up and 1,500 illegals jumped off, and there was a call to arms, and they said, anybody with a badge, come get them, I'm sure we'd jump right in and go get them and have to deal with it afterwards. But we've never been trained, in my opinion, and I don't believe they're trained now, unless they go to a certain school, to perform that duty. That's duty set up through other agencies, border patrols, etc., and I don't believe it falls in the guidelines of the Sheriff's Department.
Boat load up. I don't know where the question came up. We don't do that, okay? We don't go out looking for illegals. Now, when we had our CEU unit, we served warrants, so on and so forth. We've come across people that were illegals, and we call customs. You know what they tell us? Let them go. Let them go. You're in this country illegal, but let them go. I don't know why the question came up. We have never, ever gone out to try and arrest any illegal aliens, okay? They refer to them as undocumented workers.
Yeah.
Well, referring to an illegal alien as an undocumented worker is like referring to a drug dealer as an unlicensed pharmacist, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, this is our final question that we had written, and we'll start with you, Sheriff. How will the Sheriff's Department interface with our local police department under your leadership?
We've been interfacing for years. We don't have a problem with the police department. We've had one or two radicals over there that they had a little thing called the PBA, Police Benevolent Association. And because I was accused of not letting my deputies join it, I never said they couldn't join it. The FOP is $20 a year. The PBA was $180 a year. And Mr. Davis will tell you, that's way too high for a police officer or deputy for dues. My deputies didn't have that kind of money. So they were bashing me, trying to say that I wouldn't let them join. I never refused to let anybody join anything. This is the United States of America. You can join anything you want to, as long as it's not something that wants to overthrow the government of the United States. Other than that, I really don't care what you belong to. I really don't. And we get along great with the police department. Why do you think every police officer retires wants to come to the sheriff's office? If you don't believe me, look at my payroll, okay? I've got a lieutenant colonel sitting right there. He can tell you the same thing what I'm telling you right now. Every police officer retires, my phone is ringing off the wall. They want to come to the sheriff's office. And you say, we don't get along. We get along fantastically. We've got probably one of the best police departments in the Tidewater area.
Yes.
They work real hard, and I think we need to applaud their work. Thank you.
Police department and sheriff's department are definitely two different entities. The sheriff's department houses the inmates. Police department gathers them up and brings them to us. They work hand in hand very well. It was like that when I was there. It is like that now. I just disagree with a couple things that's going on. One of my friends, Officer Culpepper, that worked for this gentleman beside me, was out there doing weights and measures, working as a state patrol officer. I don't agree with that. I think it ticked some state police off. There's Chris Wells out there that's writing all the tickets, and I think that some of the officers that are out there watching him doing the job that don't have any backup or any assistance don't like that. That's a liability. My job will be to encourage the police department to do the policing and encourage the sheriff's department to do the custodial statuses. As far as it goes now, we have a great relationship, I'm sure, but I'm going to continue to make sure it meshes together because they are both necessaries for the city of Portsmouth.
I think working with the police department to get the booking back is definitely going to improve upon the relationship between the sheriff's office and the police department. Sheriff already talked about that. Hopefully coming back to the sheriff's department next year. One of the things that I've noticed as being a police officer in this city that really irks me is when I'm on a call, a fight call, chasing somebody, and I'm calling for help, and I see a deputy sheriff drive by, don't even stop to help. That's a problem. I would make sure that each deputy's trained properly so they will actually stop instead of worrying about serving papers at that time. That's something that definitely needs to be addressed.
We're on different channels, that's why he didn't stop.
I didn't know that there was any problems between the police and the sheriff's office. The only problem I see is the booking of the inmates that we have now that the police department took over, because Gary Waters didn't want it any longer. It belongs in the sheriff's office, looking of all prisons, and even looking after the convictions. They got the experience in it. It keeps these police officers, it puts the police officers back on the street instead of being tied up for an hour or 2 hours booking an inmate or a prisoner. And like I said, if there's any problems going on with the sheriff and the police chief, it hasn't come out.
Can I make one statement, Pat, to clarify something? I'd like to clarify one thing because of my deputies, okay? There's nothing any more honorable than being a police officer, a firefighter, or a deputy in the city of Portsmouth. But I'm going to defend my deputies right now. We operate on Channel 7. The police department operates on Channel 1, 2, 3, and 4. If the call goes out on 1, 2, 3, or 4, my deputy won't hear it on Channel 7. So for him standing and say that one of my deputies would not stop and give him a hand is a lie. It's deceit, okay? My deputies would lay down their life for a police officer. These police officers will lay down their life for deputies. And that's something that'll never change. We're forever backing each other up all the time if we know about it. But if you're on a different channel and you don't hear it, how are you going to know? What the dispatcher need to do is simulcast off of all the channels at the same time. And we'll be there with lights on, ready to kick somebody's butt.
Yeah.
But the thing is, none of my deputies will run from a fight. None of them. Thank you.
Would you like to clarify?
All righty, that's going to conclude our, it is right at 10 o'clock now, and we don't really have, we've gone through all of our written questions, and so in order to end on time and give the candidates an opportunity to speak with you if they'd like, I know the sheriff has to run. I'm surprised he's still here. He's just supposed to be in the parade.
I apologize for having to leave, but I've got to get to Norfolk homecoming at 10 o'clock, which is 3 minutes from now. But thank you
Please
for your
give him a
time.
round of applause.